Gilmore, the member for Melbourne.
Mr. Speaker, my question is to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, news poll today should be no surprise. Young people are getting screwed over. Owning a home's out of reach, study is getting more expensive, work is getting more insecure, and now many young people's wages will be cut after the Fair Work Commission decision, cheered on by your government, to cut their penalty rates. Last year, the Greens announced our plan to protect penalty rates in legislation, and we're pleased that others are now on board. Prime Minister, will you now join with the rest of the parliament in protecting the wages of hundreds of thousands of Australians, especially our youngest and lowest paid workers, by backing the Greens bill? Wouldn't it be better to spend this week protecting young people's wages instead of giving the big banks a multi-billion-dollar handout?
Just before I call the Prime Minister, I'm going to allow the question, but caution the member for Melbourne about the use of language in his question, being unparliamentary or at least certainly unsavoury, and I've cautioned him on that before. If there is a repeat of it, I'll simply sit the member for Melbourne down. This is made more difficult by the change to the standing orders, of course, that gives 45 seconds for long speeches rather than 30, but that's beyond my control. But I do say to the member for Melbourne, if there's a repeat of that, I'll simply sit him down and move to the next question. The Prime Minister has the call.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I can understand the member for Melbourne's unhappiness that the plagiarism of the Greens' policy by the Labor Party has not been acknowledged. But it is yet another example of the green tail wagging the Labor dog, I think, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, the honourable member, I've addressed this issue in my previous answers, but I'll take the opportunity to quote the observation of President Ian Ross. This is the former Australian Congress of Trade Unions official appointed to head Fair Work by the Labor Party, as were the other four members of the panel. And this is what he said. The evidence also supports the proposition that a lower Sunday penalty rate would increase service levels with a consequent increase in employment in terms of hours worked by existing employees or the engagement of new employees. In particular, a reduction in Sunday penalty rates is likely to lead to more stores being open on Sundays, increased Sunday trading hours, a reduction in hours by some owner-operators, an increase in overall hours worked in retail stores. Now, Mr. Speaker, that is the conclusion after, as I said earlier, several years, thousands of pages of evidence, hundreds of witnesses by the Independent Tribunal. They were tasked with this job by the former Labor government. They had all of the evidence from employers and employees. They considered it very carefully. Honourable members would understand, and sure the member for Melbourne would understand, that there was always a balance between the rate of penalty rates and its impact on employment. It's clearly a contentious matter. You have an independent body has determined it. They've considered it carefully. They've come to the conclusion. The Labor Party previously said we must respect the independent umpire and suggested we would not. Well, we do, and we have. It is the Labor Party that has changed. We respect the independent umpire's decision. They've made the decision, and honourable members opposite, and indeed the honourable member for Melbourne, should bear in mind what Jenny George said. Be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you wish for when you decide that independent tribunals' judgments are only to be respected when they suit your own preconceived